The Jamaica Railway is 121 years old, and we tend to take it pretty much for granted today. But to the citizens of the Kingston of 1846, when the first line from the city onto Spanish Town was opened, it was a thing of great excitement and wonder.
The company's new steam engine, the projector, having been attached, the train consisting of some 8 or 10 well-filled carriages started on the first railway excursion in the British West Indies. The band of the West India Regiment taking its stand in the last third-class carriage and playing lively airs throughout. The train passed at a slow speed through the suburban portions of the line, which were densely thronged on both sides with crowds of wondering citizens who loudly cheered the novel exhibition as it passed before them.
In the 121 years since 1846, the railway has been in constant use. It has changed ownership several times, been bought and sold, resold and bought again, and has even been the subject of a court case. The lines have been extended from Spanish Town to Old Harbor to Porus to Montego Bay and to Port Antonio. There have been several controversies about the organization over the years, and in 1960, government decided to turn over the management to a corporation. The Jamaica Railway Corporation is a 7-man board who form the basic policy of the railway and are responsible for its finances. The day-to-day control of the service is in the hands of the general manager, Mr. U.T. Salmon.
The Jamaica Railway Corporation took over the activities of the railway in April 1960. Its first administrative act was to appoint a firm of international business consultants for the purpose of studying the entire activities of the railway with a view to recommending ways and means of improving the efficiency of the organization. The corporation first set up a personnel department, recognizing that its workforce was its greatest asset. The personnel department was responsible for human relations, industrial relations, training, and welfare. Next, the corporation moved towards acquiring new rolling stock for replacing the obsolete passenger coaches, and thus completed its dieselization program for the purpose of reducing the cost of operations. Then the corporation moved towards the better layout of its workshop so as to make more effective use of its work people. Finally, the corporation established a commercial section which was responsible for servicing customers, improving the image of the corporation, and seeking new customers.
The main building in Kingston is certainly one of the busiest stations in Jamaica. From here you can go to Bog Walk, to Linstead, to Williams Field, to Port Antonio, to any place that is covered by the daily service. People who use the trains every day might include children traveling to school in Kingston and back morning and evening, store clerks and commercial people on their way to jobs in the city, and of course, near the weekend, the market women with their foodstuff to sell in the market. To these regulars, the trains are an everyday convenience, and they use them without any feeling of excitement or anticipation. To the casual traveler, The wonder of the people in 1846 does seem a bit strange. But even today, there is still the excitement of the unusual. An exciting world of noises and heat, and the insistent rhythms of sights and smells that rush towards you, fly past, and are gone. When the noises cease and the rush is over, if you take the trouble to look, you'll see much more than the crowds, the big buildings, and the powerful engines. This is a world of 101 different skills, a world of careful timing and faultless precision. The mechanical workshop is the largest in Jamaica. Men of various skills work here. This is where the bulk of the repair work is done. Anything from the electrical system of a huge diesel locomotive to a worn driving wheel is repaired and serviced. The foundry is the oldest part of the workshop. From hundreds of different patterns kept in stock, the founder can produce replacements for the many metal parts, which are worn out or damaged either by accident or by everyday use. This is very skilled work, and one which needs a thorough knowledge of metallurgy, as well as a confidence in the behavior of white-hot metals at high temperatures. A confidence that is gained only by several years of experience. All clay for molding has to be very carefully mixed and must be used only with just the right amount of moisture, neither too dry nor too wet. Only experience can tell you when you arrive at this point. To the founder is given the responsibility of directing each step in the process, from the selection and preparation of the clay to the molding and right up to the final stage. These brake shoes being made here are only one batch of the many hundreds produced each year. Brake shoes are essential to all braking systems. The friction of iron against steel stops the spinning wheels, but iron, of course, suffers, so it has to be regularly replaced, and this keeps the foundry quite busy. The high point of the founder's work is undoubtedly the casting. But here, when the white-hot metal pours out to fill the spaces left in the sand, will come the true test of his preparations. If the mold fills evenly, then his judgment has been right. If not, well, fiery liquid together with wet sand can provide a very respectable bit of fireworks to liven things up. Finished product and fresh from the molds, a typical example of the founder's craft. Many of the railway workers started a long time ago. Mr. Rohn tells us about his work here.
I started in the railway as an apprentice in the year 1930. In 1936, I was transferred to the running staff to be trained as a driver. I did the job from 1941 until 1961, when I was promoted a running inspector. The duties of a running inspectors are to train drivers, see that operations are carried out safely, and general supervision. During those years in the railway, I have seen quite a lot of changes. For example, we have changed from the steam locomotive to diesel locomotive. This dieselization started in 1956 and was completed in 1967.
Dieselization. This is the key to the corporation's improvements. They've replaced many of the old coaches with modern diesel rail cars. This has proved much more economical than the cumbersome steam engines. In addition, there are 12 powerful diesel locomotive engines. These are the rolling stock that take you quickly out of the city to your destination. Electric lines and bridges stay with you for a while and then are gone. And before you know it, you're out into the open countryside. A few stops here and there to pick up passengers and the mail, and we're off again. In no time at all, we're approaching the ancient city of Spanish Town. From here, it's the choice of two directions, either by way of bog walk on through to Port Antonio, or to the left and the line to Montego Bay. The Montego Bay line passes through every possible kind of countryside, from wide-spreading acres of cane fields and pasture land to green mountainside with clumps of tall guango and cotton trees and masses of hanging vines. Heartlands, Bushy Park, and Old Harbor, these are some of the stations you'll pass on the St. Catherine Plains. We're well into Clarendon and we cross over the Rio Minho and into the Maypen station. The stop here is a little longer, for there is another train on the track ahead. All stations are linked by telegraph and there is constant communication between them. Before we can go any further, we have to get the very important clearance. This has to be very carefully checked and recorded at every station. We're off again, and now the scene changes. The brown, dry grass and cane fields give way to twisting, tunneled hills and broad valleys. Views of citrus groves and high rock cuts all change, block, and reveal each other. As we pass Williamsfield, we see something of our largest industry. This is Kirkvine Works. Transport provided for the alumina bauxite industry by the railway makes up 48% of the corporation's annual revenue. If you're going through to Montego Bay, you'd have been traveling for about 1.5 hours. The steepest part of the track coming up ahead. In days gone by, it would take 2 steam engines, front and back, to get you over this one. But now you can be sure of a powerful, even climb. if not one of great dash. Appleton and teetotalers beware. This is not the place for you. Should one of our passengers manage to scramble over the high fence, nobody on that train would suffer from thirst. From here on, nearing the end of the line, the North Coast tourist trade takes over at Catadupa, a regular excursion stop. A dress or shirt of local design, material, and finish can be fitted and completed in 4 hours. And Mrs. King told us how the trade began.
Mr. Clinivan started to do sewing inside of Catadupa, and whenever time the trolley, usually doctor usually take them over to the shop, and they were all busy. They're buying, having a chat, having a laugh, and whenever time the diesel come back, Mr. Clinivan was always ready with their parcel to go aboard, and they were all satisfied of their dresses and their shirts, shorts, and anything that they had purchased when they were going. Well, for a time after that, it became a bigger deal. The tourist trading turned out, as Asburn tell us, that more people could invest in it because the coming out of the tourists were plenty more than that time, and all vendors started out and give their assistance fully what they could do in sewing and in arts with their skill to bring their sewing to a progress. And after that, he tell us that curio was on the agenda, and the people was grateful of having some curio made from the Jamaica crafts and different things to take back home where they comes out to buy. They didn't only wish to have bare cloth material with a shirt, dresses, or shorts anymore, but having curio mixed up and straws. So the vendors of Catadupa get it on a large scale, and now the market is ready and prepared, and it's looking very good. But the only thing about it is that it is small and it cannot hold the amount of vendors that would like to be in it.
When all is said and done, and the tourist trade is on its way, things at Catadupa Station return to normal. The trucks and small farmers come down from the hills with their weekly crop of bananas for sale. They come to weigh and wrap and share a friendly joke. And it is as if the busy tourist scene had never been. The end of a line, the end of a journey, and 6 years since the corporation took over control. Time to take stock and see what has been accomplished.
The results of the 6 years of the activities of the Railway Corporation may be briefly summarized as follows. Increase in total revenue of 27%. Increase in the number of passengers carried by 40%, bringing the total number to 1.25 million. Increase in the tonnage of freight carried by over 100%. Reduction in the cash deficit of over £200,000. Increase in wages of employees. Now 76% of the total operating revenue of the corporation of £1.1 million. There has been provided a two-way service between Kingston and Montego Bay and between Kingston and Port Antonio. All these achievements have been accomplished without increase in fares or rates. What of the future? The Jamaica Railway Corporation is about completing studies for the provision of luxury rail cars catering to businessmen and tourists. Over the past year, some 7,000 tourists have traveled on the governor's coach from Montego Bay to Appleton. We are about giving these stations a facelift. We are confident that the activities in this area can be considerably increased with the provision of more equipment. The corporation, therefore, plans to offer more and better service for the future.